that are propagating in one direction, propagating the other direction, is acoustic wave that are generating within the oral cavity. So looking at the oral cavity, you have, let me say, these are the lips, and then you have the nose, okay? But internally, you have another cavity. Okay. Now this is full, okay? This is solid, this is solid, okay, here. Here you have the air that is flowing in this direction. Now, so this is the tongue, by the way, okay? So this is the lips, okay? So this is outside, and when you put it this way, it's solid. So the air that is going in this direction is splitting here. So it goes through the oral cavity and through the nose, okay? Now, what is this guy is generating? Okay, this is a vocal cord. Okay, this is generating a similar of a white noise. Okay, so if I put the microphone here, I listen something like. Okay, now always comes that here I get the sh, and here I get the voice. Huh? Now, so the dynamic you can read a lot of that, so you know what I mean. So the dynamic is the following: that in these white noise is going, the signal is going through this direction and is going through the other direction, right? Okay. Now let's look at one of these two cavities. So let's look at the oral cavity only and avoid the nose cavity. So if I look at the oral cavity, I have like a set of sections, okay, which are changing the acoustic impedance, so that I generate a set of waves that propagates in one direction, a set of waves that propagates on the backward direction. Okay. Now, so that means that this oral cavity can be approximated, very well approximated, by an IIR filter. So it's a filter with all poles. Technically, the number of poles about this oral cavity is approximately 8. Okay, so from here to there, I have 8 poles. So this is WN. Strange, right? This is WN. And then I have a filter which is represented by approximately 8 poles. The reason why I have a pole is due to the reverberation cavity. Okay? In other words, if I clap my hand, I have a set of waves that goes back and forward. Okay? So these waves that goes back and forward are represented by a set of, is represented by a pole. Okay? Which is representing these decreasing power. So if you look at the power, it is decreasing. Similarly there. Now, so let's represent. So I have 1 over A Z. Okay? Because I have a set of 8 poles. The number of poles on the nose is similar. Okay? So that means that the signal is the same, is excited with another set of B 8 poles Z. I think it was less, it should be 6, but it doesn't matter. Okay? So then over there, so 2 signals are, they superimpose, because the small signal that comes out from the nose, even if it is small, but it's different in case I just talk without having this flow out. So this flow is necessary to put the voice to be to be nice. Okay? So I have a set of poles and a set of poles. And then they sum. Okay? Now, what is the transfer function when I combine the two? So I have a transfer function 1 plus the transfer function 2, right? So I have 1 over A plus 1 over B, right? So what is that? It's A times B multiplied by B plus A. Okay? So by putting the nodes together, it comes out zeros, which were not present before. So I'm introducing zeros that were not present when I leave my nose open. Okay? Now, so if the question is, what is the time, the nose stationarity interval? Okay, it depends. It depends on the person. It depends how quick I change my oral cavity. Because when I talk, my tongue goes up and down, and and I completely change my oral cavity. So the time interval for nose stationarity is in the order of my capability to change the oral cavity. Once again, it depends on the problem. Okay, so if you ask me a general rule, I say there is no general rule. So I try. Okay, so what the people did is they try to approximate the oral cavity to make a smaller one or a longer one. Okay, and then they figure out that approximately the stationarity interval for the voice is 20 milliseconds. That's one magic number. Okay. Now the other is the following. If I have this structure here, okay, no matter that, I have the nose. So forget the nose for 1 second, okay? Now, if I want to use this property, I said forget the nose. So, there is no nose, okay? There is no nose. So I have this WM, which is given by the vocal cord, okay? Then I have this 1/8 A8 filter, which is 8 poles. So the random process is autoregressive order 8. Okay? Now, what can I do here? Here is the voice. So what I get here is the voice. Okay? Now, the voice made in this way is very metallic. Okay? In fact, if you look at the old style, now your Siri talks perfectly, okay? But if you think about the old style voice generator, if you talk to your parents, to your father, son, okay, then you will get, they will tell you that the voice, the automatic voice were very, very metallic. Years ago, 20 years ago. Now, why they were metallic? Because the signal was generating, assuming only 8 poles and without the nodes, so without the zeros. Okay, so the noise cavity is important to make the voice, the pleasure of the voice very, very nice. Now, let's imagine that now I want to transmit my voice from here to Hawaii. Okay, so how can I transmit? Now, I can take the signal and transmit the signal. Easy, huh? Okay. Now, but the bandwidth cost. So if I need to go to an operator and I want to use a satellite to bounce to the satellite to transmit the voice to Hawaii, then Polynesia, then it's very, very much expensive. So every time you use, every millisecond of the usage of the satellite is a lot of money. Okay. So I want to minimize the money I spend. Okay, because our goal when I open the door is to become rich, right? So, and you become rich because you save the money. Okay, that's another golden rule. Now, so, my rule is that I want to spend less money, right? Because I want to keep the money in my pocket. Then, what I need to do is, I can virtually replicate the same system in Hawaii. So, what I transmit in Hawaii is the set of these 8 coefficients, because every pole is 1 coefficient. So I send 8 numbers plus the power of this excitation noise. So I'm sending 9 numbers, right? Because 8 numbers plus 1 is 9 numbers. Then I send these 9 numbers on the other side. So every 20 milliseconds I send 9 numbers. Okay, so this is called an encoder, and this is called telecom ADSP encoder. Okay, so it's linear predictor encoder. Why is it called linear predictor? Because rather than transmitting this 8 coefficient, I implement a linear predictor ordered 8, which is pre-whitening perfectly the signal out. So I found the optimum pre-whitener, and I take the coefficient of this pre-whitener and I send it to the other side of the world. Okay? Now, why 20 milliseconds? It came by many effort, by many trials, by many experimentation. But you know, look at this. Now, I hope you can see. Okay. Do you see it? It's a voice. It's changing, huh? I believe it's fascinating. That's the oral cavity which is changing. Okay? You see it's changing the oral cavity here, but it's changing also on the other side. Okay? So, I mean, remember, before doing that, the people have developed this word. Okay? So when we studied that, because when I started studying, okay, when I was with the short travels, okay, and I started studying this part, but I have no idea what was that. Okay? So the major difference between you guys and our generation is that we studied in an abstract way. We had no possibility to see what we were studying. You now see, we were not seeing. Look at how. And by the way, look at this. It's changing the airflow, which is floating there. Okay. I close the cavity or I open the cavity. Now, you know, you might say, how do I speak, right? Because, I mean, when you see this one, you say, how a child understands how to pronounce words. Now, it's not my job to say that, okay? So the evolution is really fascinating. Now, okay, so you can see moving like this, okay? So I don't know where it's opening. Okay. So if you go to MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, and you put the voice, and you put the movie, and all that, then you get the setup of that. There is another one which I think I post on Twitter when I was using that. Okay. So which is another one which is very nice. This is a singer which is singing, you know, and I was like hypnotized, you know, when I look at that, because you can see how the oral cavity is changing, and it's really magic. At least, you know, I interpret that really as very magic. So to conclude, how long is the non-stationarity? When, you know, when I'm telling you that there's a non-stationary, it depends. It depends on the problem. You know, for instance, in a voice for the pre-coding for this capability to minimize the transmission quantity were carried out a lot of tests to check, okay, how to make it very efficient and so on, so on. Now, let's change the subject. Let's change the subject. I want to start with this subject because I want you, before Friday, that is the day when we conclude that, I want to introduce the subject of Bayesian tracking because it deserves a little bit of meditation, so you have some time perhaps to let it sediment in your brain. Now, in Bayesian tracking, the major difference of Bayesian tracking with respect to the estimation theory we did so far, we have been doing so far, is that in Bayesian tracking, we are tracking the variation of a set of parameters, knowing, it's different from the adaptive, knowing the mechanism that makes the parameter change. Okay? So, which is different from what we have been doing so far. So, now, what I'm saying is this. Up to now, our model has been the following. In estimation procedure. If linear, but I can make it even non-linear. So if it is linear, then I have a data, okay, and the data depends with the function on a set of parameters theta n, and these set of parameters theta n are affected by noise. Okay, then there is some stochastic term. I don't know. Let me call okay. Now this one is the noise. So this is the model, the general one. Now this function of can be linear or not linear. This is what we have been writing so far, okay? And so we say, if this one is linear, this is the data, then this is a set of parameters. If the parameter has some a priori, I can make, some methods. If the set of parameters are not random, they are deterministic but not known, then I use a maximum likelihood method. If they are mixed, random and not random, we did not cover. Okay, and and in that case, we try to bend the problem to be or Bayesian or not Bayesian. Okay, in this case, it's called mixed, but we didn't cover that. So anyway, this is the problem we have been solving so far. Okay, now that means that I don't know how theta is being generated. Okay, so theta, someone is giving me, if I'm lucky, someone is giving me the a priori. Now, what is new here? That I'm introducing the possibility that theta varies. Okay? So now the new part is that the theta is varying. So theta, and that means it's varying. Okay? It's changing in time. Good, now you might say, but we saw something like this in the adaptive filtering, because in adaptive filtering my parameters were changing. Because I was trying to filter, I was trying to estimate this, another signal by changing my filter. You're right. Okay? In adaptive filtering, we try to estimate the set of parameters or the filter or the filter in that case in such a way that we try to compensate the time variation of the environment. Now, what about that if, in addition to that, I give you another equation. So this is the convention, let me say, up to now. So the new part is that now I know how theta is evolving from theta n minus 1. And then with some stochastic term, which we call beta. Now, this problem is new because I never had this information. I don't know how these parameters are evolving in time. Okay? So this parameter, how the parameters are evolving in time, depends on the problem. So this is problem or application dependent. Now this beta is a random term. Is a random excitation, you see. We'll see in 1 second what it's about. This is new. So if we don't have this evolution, so how the parameters are evolving in time, then we go back to the problem we have been solving up to today, up to 10 seconds ago. Okay? So the new part is that I know how the parameters are evolving. Now in this context, the parameters are called state. That's because this is describing the evolution of the state. And so the evolution of the state is that the state is evolving from theta n minus 1 to theta n. But you remember, these are the parameters, okay? Now, I believe that this simple picture is giving all we are doing on the Bayesian track, okay? So, what I'm going to do is, I'm not writing an equation now, and I will do everything on Friday. So, let's see intuitively, okay? Imagine that we are looking at the moving of a target. I'm zooming until I want to make it as big as possible. Okay, let's imagine that we are illustrating the movement of a target. It's working. Okay. Now, what is the target? The target is a person that is moving. Now, what is the difference between the problem that I told you at the beginning? In Bayesian estimation, if you remember, I told you that the goal is to estimate the position in a position like a problem. What is the position of a professor in two configurations? Configuration number one is the position of the professor before you open the door. This is called a priori information. And so what you get is the a priori probability density function of where the professor might be before opening that door. Okay? This one is called a priori. Then you open the door and you look around. Or you're using your sensing devices. So whatever is a sensing device, putting together a priori information about what is the probability density function of the professor before opening the door, which is the a priori. After opening the door, you get the probability density function a posteriori, which is after opening the door. So you get the probability density function a priori, before opening the door, probability density function a posteriori, which is after opening the door, after making measurement, after collecting the data. Okay? Now, let's state some new parameters here. What is the probability density function a priori? The probability density function a priori is this one. But it's not only the probability density function a priori, it's the probability density function a priori at a time n. So we are now introducing the time. We are now introducing the variation of the parameter. So the new question we're asking is, what is the probability density function of the professor at a time n? What is the probability density function? So what is the PDF of the professor at a time n plus 1? What is the probability density function of the professor at a time n after opening the door at a time n? Okay, which is what is the posteriori at a time n. Now if I'm moving, but you are still at the time n, you don't update your estimator. You can calculate the probability density function of the professor at the time n plus 1 when you are still at the time n. You are making a prediction. So let's put on this concept, very easily. So we said I have the probability density function, okay, which is a priori at the time n. Now, I can get the probability density function of theta n conditioned to x, and this is a posteriori. A posteriori at the time n. Okay? Which means at the time n, open the door and then measure the environment. Okay? Now, I can calculate the probability density differential at the time n plus 1, given that I measure at the time n. What is this? Is that I'm estimating the position of the professor at the time n plus 1, which means plus 1 time. Given that I measure the data up to n, which means it's virtually that, it's the door, okay? So you open the door periodically, pump, pump, right? Okay, and you open the door. So I open the door at the time n, and then, before I open the door, what I do, I close the eye, I say, okay, I need to open the door at the time n plus 1. But, I still have the door closed. And so I can predict the position of the target, of the professor, okay, at the time n plus 1. But, since I haven't opened the door, then, this is before opening the door. So even if this one is a prediction, okay, is a prediction at time n plus 1, is coming from an information that I have, because it's the a posteriori at the time n. So the prediction at the time n plus 1 comes from the a posteriori at the time n. Okay. Now, there is no reason for the problem to limit ourselves to the time n, because I'm collecting all the data in time. And so, rather than focusing just to one time interval, what I can do is I extend this information not just to n, but to all the data up to n. So when I say that, I mean I go from 1 to n, because I'm collecting all the samples from the beginning to the time n. It's not that I'm opening the door and that's it. It's one experiment. It's a sequence of experiments where I keep opening the door, and and every time I open the door, I get one sample. Similarly to here. So the Bayesian tracking, what the Bayesian tracking is doing, is estimating the sequence of states from the sequence of observation. The sequence of states means I want to estimate theta 1 from x1. Then I want to estimate theta hat 2 from x1 to 2. Then I want to estimate theta n by using x1 to n. And I want to estimate theta n plus 1 by using x1 to n plus 1. So what I'm doing is I'm estimating the sequence of states. That's the Bayesian tracking. The essence of Bayesian tracking is that I'm estimating the sequence of states from a collection of all the data from the sample 1 to the current one. Okay? Now, let's adapt the concept visually, okay, to tracking. So what's happening tracking for position? Okay, what is a position? Now, so let's imagine that this point is representing the position in space. Okay. So this one is a position in space. So now the true position on the space is a point which is moving. Okay. So now this time is sampled regularly. Okay. So when I say 1, 2, 3, I mean the time is a sample regularly. I don't know, every 1 second. Okay. So that means in second 1, the target is here. Now the gray dots, so the filled dots is the true position, and the empty dot is the estimated position. Okay. So let's start with the true position. So the true position is moving here. Now if the dots are closer, that means that I'm slowing down. Okay. So since the time is regular, okay, when I reduce the speed, then my interdistance is reducing. So then, I'm slowing down, then I'm increasing, then slow down, then I'm increasing, slow down, increasing, slow down, and then I go here. Okay? So that's a target position. Now, the estimated, which is the empty dots. So in the empty dots, is following. Now, this is the Bayesian tracking. Bayesian tracking is that I'm tracking the position of the target. Okay? So my set of parameters is theta 1 and theta 2, which is the two coordinates of the point in planar. Okay? If we are in an airplane, it's a three-dimensional. If we are looking in, for airplane, it's not only three-dimensional set of parameters, but you estimate three parameters due to the position of the airplane. Okay, airplane of target in space, plus the three parameters representing the speed of the point along the three coordinates. Okay, so you have the dynamic representation of the point in space. Anyway, but to simplify the life, we only visually consider the position. Okay, then it's moving. Now imagine that we are in the position n-1. Now, there is in this context, there is a jargon. And the jargon is the following. So let's discuss a little bit about the jargon. Now, theta n-1, gray, is the position of the true position of the target. And theta hat n-1 is representing the estimate position of the target at the time n-1. Now this n-1 here is a saying, so these in terms of notation, okay. Let me write here, okay, which is the zoom. This is saying that it's estimate the position at the time n-1 using given all the data from 1 to n-1. So in this jargon, okay, I prefer not to write x hat n-1 given, so taking all the observation from 1 to n-1, but I will simply write in a short notation x hat n-1 given n-1, which means giving all the data up to n-1. Okay? So, what does it mean? It means that this estimate here is the estimated position obtained on the sample by using all the data up to n-1, which means I estimated this point by using the a posteriori probability density function, because the a posteriori means using all the data, including the one at a time samples n-1. Now, so this is the estimated value. So from the estimated value, you see, this is the error, okay? Because there is an error between here and there. Now, what I can do here is, since this point is moving always in this direction, so I predict. Okay, I predict. I make a prediction. I predict the position of the target at the time n using x1 to n-1, which I indicate in this shortage. Okay? Which means, I am making this prediction. So the prediction by using all the sample, not the current one, but only the past. Now, when I make the prediction, I'm using, the samples, but not the last one, okay? So I expect that my prediction is taking the error and growing the error. So if I have some uncertainty about my position, by making a prediction, my uncertainty is growing. Okay? In other words, when I'm here and I'm making, this is the zoom, okay? So when I'm here and I calculate this point as using the a posteriori, So that means that the a posteriori, if Gaussian, is approximately shaped in this way. So this shape is the shape of a Gaussian bell, okay, of the a posteriori probability density function. So this behavior, change the color. So this behavior is representing of the a posteriori theta n minus 1 using all the samples from 1 to n minus 1. Okay? So which is, this one is called a posteriori because I'm using all the data. Okay? Now, this a posteriori, if this guy is Gaussian, because we are assuming Gaussian, just to simplify. So this a posteriori, these ellipses is representing the distribution, the Gaussian distribution of the error, which is Gaussian shaped, so it's an ellipsis. And now this error, so this a posteriori probability density function, you know, if calculating the maximum, which coincides with the minimum, and this is also the minimum mean square error, and this is the maximum posteriori. So this estimate for Gaussian setting is the maximum posteriori, which coincides with the minimum mean square error. Okay? This is due to the fact that it's Gaussian. So let me say, if this one is Gaussian, okay? So if Gaussian, which is not guaranteed, then you know, I know that theta n minus 1 n minus 1 is normal with a certain mean and with a certain covariance. I have no rule. Okay, I do this a simple way. Okay. Now this covariance there, so that ellipsis is representing the a posteriori covariance. Now, when I make a prediction, what's happened in the prediction? In the prediction, if I have some error, in the prediction, this error is growing. So what I expect that in the prediction mode, my error is in some way growing. Okay? It's growing because the error, okay, in the prediction mode, I'm predicting. So if I have some uncertainty now, by prediction, my prediction error is growing. So what I expect that the probability density function of theta n using all the sample up to n minus 1 is broader. It's necessarily broader because this denotes a larger uncertainty with respect to the original. Original is this point. Okay? So when I'm predicting, you know, I'm broadening that. So the corresponding covariance here, so the covariance here is bigger than here. If we look at the variance only, the variance here is bigger than the variance there. Okay? The covariance is just a generalization of the two axes and the orientation of the variance. Okay? So it's broader. Now, what's happened, you know, if I make a measurement? We remember that if I make a measurement, the a posteriori probability density function, I expect it to be smaller, so more concentrated, than the a priori. So, in other words, I mean, if I use the data now, what I expect is that the a posteriori, you know, because this one is the probability density function of theta n, using all the data from 1 to n. But you know, once again, this one is the posteriori at the time n. So, you know, the prediction
is the best approximation of the a priori probability density function. So the main concept that I'm passing you is the following. If I want to say what is the best a priori probability density function that I might find in this iterative procedure, my best a priori that I might get is the a priori that I get by the prediction mode. So using all I know with the new, making the prediction here, this is acting, this prediction is acting as the a priori for mixing the new data with the missing data, because I don't have the current data here. You see, now with the new posteriori in the position n, the dispersion is shrinking. So I move forward this way. I have the posteriori, predict, shrink, predict, shrink, predict, shrink. Okay, when I predict, my dispersion is improving, and when I make the measurement, which means I calculate the posteriori, the prediction, so PDF is shrinks. So predict, shrinks, and so on. Okay, so this is the behavior. Now, you know, if I, in this setting, I might look at what is the estimation by using the maximum likelihood. Now, I knew, because we did it, I know that if I use the maximum likelihood, the dispersion of the maximum likelihood method is bigger than the dispersion that I get by the Bayesian estimation. So if we are in a Gaussian environment, the dispersion of the maximum likelihood, so the estimate, which is the maximum of the maximum likelihood, is here. And the dispersion of the conditional probability density function is approximately behaving this way. We know, you remember that how to calculate the posteriori. So the posteriori is, so a posteriori is equal to a priori time condition. Okay? So in our setting, what is the a priori? Well, the a priori, you know, is probability of theta, rotation is n, given all the data up to n minus 1. Okay? This is the a priori. What is the condition on that? The condition, you know, is the probability of x n given, you know, theta time n. When I multiply these two together, then I get the posteriori. If I maximize this, max of this one, this term only, by maximizing this term 1, I get the theta maximum likelihood. Okay? So, what is this one? This curve is this Gaussian here. Multiply by that one. I get this circle. Okay? So I'm making multiplication of a Gaussian a priori with a Gaussian that is a conditional probability density function. Then, looking at the maximum, I get the maximum likelihood. But you know, combining the a priori with the conditional, I get the a posteriori one. Okay? You see that? So, now, I would say that's it. Once you understood this conceptual part, it's smoothing down. Because I mean, it's only a matter to put one equation after the other. Because I mean, it's the conceptual part is something that once it's a sediment in your mind, the formula goes away, but the conceptual part remains. So in 10 years' time, you don't remember the formula, but you remember the conceptual. So this is the part that you know sediments.
Now the last comment on that, about these examples, okay? The last comment is the following. In all I'm saying, okay, I'm not discussing what are the probability density functions. So actually, I'm saying that everything is Gaussian. But you know, can we really say that in a movement of a person, we are justified to assume that the distribution is Gaussian? I mean, Gaussian means I keep on moving this way. Okay. You see me moving this way, that's perfectly moved, but you know, not active, right? So I still most of the time. So, by the way, so that means that the probability density function of a point, which means on the target, it depends on the target. It depends on what is doing the target. So how can I model, for instance, the possibility that, you know, one person might erratically move around the position, but then the possibility that the person stays still for a certain amount of time. So then I can say that the person, so that my position, okay, theta, is still and moves. Let me say that when he moves isotropically, which means move around, okay? But when I still. So let me say that I stay still with the probability p, and then I move with the probability 1 minus p. Now, how do I write the corresponding probability density function of theta? So, probability density function of theta, perhaps, is something like this. So, the probability density function of theta, now theta is a vector, okay, so it's 2 dimensions. The probability density function of theta is equal to delta theta times probability p plus Gaussian on theta with a certain mean that is the previous one, which is 0, and with a probability, with a covariance which is c theta times probability 1 minus p. So this distribution is representing the unconditional probability density function theta. Why I say unconditional? Because I mean, this probability density function theta is unconditional because I'm not conditioning the point to be still or move. Okay? So this is the unconditional probability density function theta. So this PDF is representing either a person that is staying still, or you know, at a certain point moves. Then moves, still moves. Okay? Right? You know, now how is this covariance? Well, if you look at the covariance about me, so I probably stay still most of the time. But you know, my covariance is elongated in this direction because I keep moving here. Okay? And then the fluctuation in the other direction is very limited. So if I want to represent what is the probability density function of my point is that I stay still, I move a little bit in the horizontal, in vertical direction, in the horizontal I move more. I mean, I have a larger dynamic, so I move more in the horizontal direction. Well, but this guy is not Gaussian. I mean, I try to bend it to be Gaussian, but this makes no Gaussian. Totally no Gaussian. So if I represent, so this one, you know, is kind of bell shape with a delta on the top. Okay? And by the way, this delta is 2-dimensional delta, so it's a very practical, but you know, let's skip. So that one is no Gaussian, right? Now, most of the people try to move along the direction represented by the environment. In other words, if the room is banded, so it's conditioned by these tables, so if I make the probability density function of the movement of each of you, leaving you in this room, we will get a probability density function which is similar to this.
we probably get, I mean, looking at from the map view or the triangle. Okay? So, you know, you move preferable on one direction and less on the other. So if these two are the two axes, so your distribution is mostly in this way. And then, you know, and then you stay still for a lot of time. Because you mostly move along this direction and the other direction. You don't make a diagonal because you are constrained by the environment. You don't realize, okay? That's another job. If you are in a station, you try, or you are in the airport, you try to have the flow of the people preferable moving in along a certain preferable direction. You don't want to people move zigzag, okay? Because the people moving zigzag, they are using more space, okay? And then, you know, according to that, this is the PDM, right? But this is non-Gaussian. So what I'm telling you is that the Bayesian tracking in many settings is non-Gaussian. That's a bad news. So, but you know, if it is Gaussian, we are strong. We can do everything, right? Okay, now, so what we will do Friday is the following. We will assume that the world is Gaussian. Not with understanding that the world is not Gaussian. So if the world is Gaussian, if the parameters is Gaussian, if the noise is Gaussian, not Gaussian with a multi-dimension. If the noise is Gaussian, if the parameter is Gaussian, if the excitation of the dynamic system, which we will discuss, is Gaussian, then this tracking is called Kalman filter. Okay, so the special, so if you like, Kalman filter is a special case of Bayesian tracking under the setting that the filter is linear and all the quantities, the random quantities that we are dealing with are multivariate Gaussian.